All right, today we're going to talk about 101 ways to repel a healthy man, a masculine man, something that's good for you. And
And and because the truth is, ladies, that the way you show up determines whether you attract a dud, a stud, or no one at all.
yeah, exactly. So, um, we've kind of been talking about this a little bit, but there's a lot of things that we've done, like people do, women do, and it's not necessarily just for the ladies. I mean, there's definitely some things here that we'll cover with the guy. We're not going to have enough time to go over all 101 things, but we're going to have fun with it. We're going to look at it. We're going to investigate it and figure out some of the things like, you know, um, what criticism does to a relationship, what, being non-authentic. In other words, a lot of times when it's like, you present something that's not true. Like, oh no, I got to show up like this so that he likes me. And guys don't actually want that. They guys just a guy would rather see you be authentic, even in struggles or anything else with confidence, than to look like the perfect package. Because when you show up fake like the perfect package, it's like, yeah, this is something I don't want to deal with. Even though it looks perfect, I know it's not because energy is readable. So, what do you think? Mm.
Yeah, because I think us women, well, I think we think that we need to present a certain image or show up a certain way in order to quote unquote get you to respond to us. But I personally truly believe, and this is kind of what I help some of my clients with, is that I'd say, a healthy man, a masculine man, a man who's capable of claiming you, like, and but in a way that's like very protective, that in a way, a man that's able to protect your heart and who wants to totally cherish you. In order for a man to inspire a man to do that, you have to show up um authentic and vulnerably. You have to show him your heart. You
Yeah.
can't put on a front.
Yeah, otherwise he has nothing to protect.
Right. So when you're going out like on
Yeah.
dates and stuff.
Do you want him to protect the lie that you created? Or do you want him to actually protect the real version of you? Because that's when you're going to get the feelings that you're looking for.
So you basically showing up on dates inauthentic, not, I mean, okay, so this or I'm thinking like about it on like a first date. Like you're not going to go into a first date
Right.
totally like,
Yeah, we're going to stick to first date basis.
oh, we are singing a first
Yeah.
date basis.
Yeah, let's just do that. It'll make it easier. I mean, we don't want to continue this for the next 24 hours of
Right.
all the things that we could talk about. It's going to be a quick call.
A quick call.
Yeah, a quick. We're gonna show you guys a few secrets here and move on.
Okay. So help me out.
Well, maybe we should just do this.
Okay.
Let's just go through some of these and we'll just stop on ones that are worth discussing.
Okay. Because we have 101 ways here to repel healthy masculine men, ways that repel healthy masculine men. So the first one we were talking about quickly is just playing games instead of being authentic. That's what we think is
Yeah.
just one. And they're in no
Have you ever done
particular
that?
order. Played games instead of
Oh yeah.
being authentic. Yeah,
Oh, I
sure.
have. Way back when,
Hmm.
before I was like 20.
Well, I mean, I don't playing game. What does it even mean playing games instead of being authentic? What's an example of games?
Well, there's the obvious games, right? Like the players game of where people challenge each other, or it's like got to get the girl or got to get the guy, or I'm going to show him who wears the pants in the house. Like those are like real immature type games. Like low level loser type stuff that but I still see people play them, and it's not to say that you can't or whatever. It's to say you're not going to get what you want, even sometimes joking around with these games, because you stir up a competition. And competition in relationship is not a healthy thing. Now you could go play a game of tennis and have a competition, and that can be healthy, but you don't want to get competitive in like how your communication happens or anything inside of your direct thing. So sticking with the dating, if you look at it at a low level of I'm going to win him over. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's a very controlling attitude from a woman's perspective. I think that's very detrimental.
Anytime a woman does anything with the expectation of an outcome, she's in her masculine energy.
Yep.
And masculine energy repels healthy masculine men.
It'll attract competitive men, which are not healthy masculine men.
Yeah, it'll attract competitive men. Um, but yes,
Or just weak men in general.
weak men. You're not going, but anytime a woman does anything with an expectation of an outcome, meaning like I'm going to do this, and so does this,
Yeah.
right? Like that is in your masculine energy, and that will actually repel the type of men that our listeners here want.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. If you think you can do something that will get the guy, that's a problem. Because you want to be coming at it from the perspective of I just want to be me.
What you want to do is you want to come at it as, yes, the more me, I'm just going to be me, but like you want to show him your heart, you know. I think there is an expectation there that a healthy man, the more open you are, you would hope that one will step in and claim you,
Mhm.
right? But it's also about, it's not just about showing him your heart, but it's also about, I think, having as a woman's the definitely standards and and a boundary about some boundaries in place. And I know that boundaries are coming from a masculine energy place, but like if you are committed to attracting a healthy masculine man, that will claim you, your heart needs to be open. But when your heart is open as a woman and you are open and ready to receive, typically you attract everything, which is why then it's important to know and what you do want, and know what healthy men actually look like. So you can, say no to the ones that aren't it, so you can get to the one that is, because the healthy man that you're seeking, he is rare, I won't lie, but so are you. And so that's why um it's important to know that, but know that he's out there and he's just waiting for you to show up. But if you are, trying to give your heart to men that aren't capable of holding it, you're going to live a lifetime full of frustration trying to change men that are not ready.
But at the same time, it's something that you kind of have to be open to in the beginning to probably get hurt a little. It's not in a way of like, hey, hurt me, but it's in a way of like I have to be open to show to put something out there that I'm vulnerable in and that it's delicate with a completely unknown. It's like a very unsafe place to be. I'm going to give you something. You could hurt me. You may not. I don't know. But if I don't show you, give it to you, then I'll never know if you can show up for me.
Well, it is, and I know we're not really getting to the list right now, but it is a vulnerable place to be, because when you are open and ready to receive, and you're being showing up vulnerable and you're being your authentic self, like you are putting yourself in a situation where you potentially could get hurt.
Yeah.
But the truth is that if you are truly standing in your feminine power, like you will put yourself out there, but at the same time, you also trust yourself.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, you're not going to just give yourself to any man that's going to hurt you in that way. And if you do happen to, give yourself to somebody who's not at your level, and you do maybe get hurt, you know that it's for the best in a way. So it's like the more you grow and the more you step into this version of you that's open and ready and willing to receive, you also learn to trust yourself more. And so like I was open on my dating journey, but I was not scared of getting hurt, truly, because I knew that I wasn't just going to like fully, like I was open, but I wasn't fully giving it to them because I was observing where they were at. And if they weren't capable of receiving me, then I just moved on to the next. Like I trusted myself to do that. I wasn't scared about getting wrapped up with a narcissist, or I wasn't scared about getting wrapped up with an unhealthy man who had what I call like scar energy. I wasn't scared of that because I trusted myself not to do that.
Yeah, and you were, the what you're talking about is not something where you just listen to this and then you're like, oh, okay, I know what to do. This is years of knowing how to set the boundaries, of learning, of doing the work, sitting down, which now you help a lot of these other women actually sit down, figure out what it is they want, help them see clearly, because most of them have a story of like, well, if I do this, it's going to do this. And then you're like, no, let me show you. And then you kind of show them the truth behind it. And then they're, oh, okay, that makes more sense. And so you guide a lot of women through this process of developing it, and they have a very high rate of attracting a lot better men. Not always the perfect one. Some of them seems like they're doing pretty good, but definitely a very much like immediate higher quality. And then it's just a matter of enjoying the experience to get to see to whatever. But we're not going to go into that. Like that's what she teaches. So you can get more of that from her. But we want to talk about some more of these topics and just kind of having a little fun with it, going through it. What else we give me a good one here?
Okay, so right there, I mean, we said, how to repel high value masculine men is playing games instead of being authentic. Being closed off emotionally, we kind of just touched on that, I feel like. Um, how about rejecting his attempts to help or support?
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
I
actually, I really like this one.
okay.
How to repel, displaying inconsistent or hot and cold behavior. I remember when we first started dating, you complimented, or you've said that I was very consistent
Did I?
in how and like how I was showing up. What did that mean? Do you remember? Do
I
you
don't
remember?
remember saying it
You did say that. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because you knew what it meant. I was just observing.
You were observing. I knew what it meant, and I know that I'm consistent in how I show up
Yeah.
because I have a vision
Mhm.
and I was living my vision. And my
Which
vision,
the confidence comes out, the strength comes out, all that.
yes. So, I was just very consistent, and it was like I was showing up consistent and also observing how you were showing up,
Yeah.
and how you were showing up, I didn't take personal. And I think that's one of the problems is a lot of women repel the men because they take things personal, so they react and show up with inconsistent hot and cold behavior and then start playing games. Well, I'm not going to call him first, or I'm going to do this, or right?
Yeah.
Like that inconsistent.
Yeah, not to say that there were things that I was doing that were bad. It's just like if you're not clear on your vision, then anything can lead you somewhere negatively thinking, right? Like, did he call back? Did he do this? Did he, like you get very much erratic with it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's that ability to just stay calm and collected and be confident and move, which comes from, like she said, doing the work, knowing where you're at, figuring it out, practicing, over and over. And one of the things in here said, don't be, with those emotional, ups and downs. If you have that, you got to get it under control in some way without trying to control it. Because if you took what she just talked about and said, okay, so I just need to be consistent, right, to get what I want, that is you trying to control the outcome, which is not feminine. That becomes masculine, right? She showed up consistent because she was being feminine. She was allowing herself to feel and be, but very clear internally on what she wanted and what she desired, and observed and said no to the things that were no's and yes to the things that were yeses. And
It was like consistent with emotional control,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah, and so I'm verbal. I do a I used to not be, but I'm better at it. Where I'm verbal when I observe something that's worth being observed, actually telling her, "Hey, Like, I appreciate this. Like, I can tell, like, this is not normal. I appreciate it. And also it's a feeling that I have. And so usually if I get a feeling that's different than anything I've identified, I try to make sure I tell her about it, because then that gives her more certainty and security inside of the relationship, which is not necessarily something I want to focus on, but it's definitely something that for a woman, it helps when you can confirm for them, like, yeah, you're on the right path, like we agree. And so it's just like, oh, okay, check, moving on. And it gives a little more freedom to jump forward.
I think if you look at any like high value couple
Mhm.
with a, just a really great relationship, um, two people who are, he's in his king energy, she's in her queen energy, and they're just like really solid. Like both of them show up with very consistent behavior where they have like adult conversations. They aren't super reactive, like they truly, love each other and respect each other. Where a lot of um people in relationships, it looks very toxic and it's inconsistent behavior, it's playing games, it's back and forth, it's reacting, it's reactive, it's like very toxic looking. And I often, or I think that sometimes if you look at a couple who's kind of like us, if you're used to chaos, like we might seem boring because we don't get into explosive fights or
Yeah.
like go crazy, or like it's just not high drama over
Yeah.
here.
It actually, from what I came out of, not having any of that almost felt like, well, is there really a spark here between us? Because when we first started dating, I was like, there's something here, but I don't, that real fiery spark type stuff wasn't there because I had dealt with so much drama, fighting, all this craziness. And then without it, there's like less emotion.
But what's interesting is that it's not that we don't have it in us, right? We can just choose to unleash it in a more healthy way. And I feel like like taking that fire energy and like unleashing it in the bedroom.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other ways. It was just going from like this crazy, agitated, frustrated, whatever side, and then healing enough to bring it down here to then get the other side and seeing it for what it was. And the healthy side is way stronger if you have the emotional integrity to actually receive it. Right. But if you get in that, I think one of these was constantly testing his loyalty. Right. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of women question their man. Who are you talking to? What's this? What's that? Oh, you better not. Like doing that type of thing because they're very insecure about who they are. And they're like always thinking that he's going to do something else or do this or do that. And it's like a total, like you flat out will not get a good man behaving like that. And if you're a man that just happened to listen to this and your girl is acting that way, you need to go like reach down and find your nuts and start like either fix the problem or get away from her because she's unhealthy. Like that's just a bad, like you can't be a healthy man in that environment. It doesn't work.
Well, healthy men usually don't
They don't tolerate
eat,
it.
they either don't tolerate it, or if they stick around, they end up becoming weaker.
Yeah. They get
They
tore
get
down,
tore down.
which I've done. Like I've been in that situation and been tore down from it. And
My
it's just
ex-husband
like
was in
I
that situation.
was like, I'm gonna I'll just not talk to him. Like it's not worth it. Like I just won't talk to other women. Like it's just not worth it because any woman that could potentially be anything that she thought was better than her or whatever, she'd never admit that she thought it was better than her. She would just be like, well, what's she doing? Well, she's coming on to you, this, that, and everything else. It's like, it doesn't matter if she is. Like, I'm the one that's going to make the decision, and years of that actually led to some bullshit, so it's, you can't isolate as a man. You got to step up and say, no, we're not doing it this way, which is kind of what I did. I said, no, stop. Like your insecurities don't get to be relevant on my ability to do what I do. Back off. And we see what happened with that relationship anyway. So kind of is what it is. But from as a woman, if you find yourself consistently testing him especially when we're what we're talking about is the dating, like especially first date. If first date all of a sudden you're freaking out over like what is he doing? What's that? That shouldn't even be in your mind yet because he should be allowed to date.
Maybe not just first date, but like for if you're going on like if you're maybe one, two, three, like four dates in or something,
Yeah,
like in the very beginning,
the
like
early stages.
what is repelling a man from actually stepping up and claiming you?
Yeah.
Inconsistent behavior,
Well, no healthy man is going to claim a
a lot
woman
gossiping,
that is challenging his loyalty over and over again, right?
challenging him, showing up too needy,
Yeah,
thinking that if you show up so needy and you're closed off, like a man is not going to want to, the type of man that you want won't claim you. If you show up in that way, you will attract. This is why I said like duds, stud. The way you're showing up is whether you attract a dud, a stud, or no one at all.
mhm.
Because a lot of times the duds, they can seem great in the beginning, but the only reason they're choosing you is because they 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 don't know how to choose
Yeah,
healthy, or they're choosing somebody like a mama. If you're showing up like a mama, if you're showing up like a mom, masculine energy, making all the decisions, a little bit more controlling, you're gonna
like
attract
perfect.
men who are looking for a mom. And and over time, it's gonna not look good for both of you. But let's just say that.
Yeah, there's plenty of people we deal with that they feel like they like a woman feels like she has another kid and it's her husband.
Another kid, and it's her husband. Oh my gosh, I was listening to this girl on TikTok,
Yeah,
literally going off, complaining about her husband, how awful he is, how he's just like another kid, and she does everything. And I mean, she was going off, and I was just looking at her like I almost wanted to shake her a little bit and be like, you need to stop. Like you need to relax. You need to calm down. And I could just see, I don't want to put all the blame on her, but like I am a lot about, just taking personal responsibility for your part in it. And I could see why her husband was behaving and doing the things that she was complaining about, because she literally saw him as incapable of doing anything.
because she was doing everything,
And she was
probably.
doing everything, yet she was complaining about it and
Yep.
yelling about it on TikTok. And all the girls are like, yeah, you need to leave him. He's worthless, this and that and this and that. And I'm like, okay, like, thinking to myself, you don't need to leave him, but let's just take a step back and start taking a look at how we're showing up and what we're doing and how we're creating this. And what I really want you love is that we're in the book study we're doing right now. It literally is all about that. In the
Yeah.
first chapter,
Yeah, it's like
she says most women are frog farmers, meaning we come into relationships and we literally turn our men into frogs by the way that we're showing up.
and the men are just like, okay, fine, you want to control it? I'm not gonna fight you. Go ahead.
And men who haven't really been trained don't really know what to do. And men also
Trained does not mean by women.
no.
Okay, like just so you know, it's like you guys, women cannot train men to do this. Most men, even good men, don't understand when a woman starts to contrite like take control or something, or he's like had enough. He's like, okay, fine. If you want it that way, you do it that way. And he goes over here and does this.
Mo
He's not trained to catch it, look at it, and be like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like,
Right.
well, I don't know. No, see what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this over, and then after you take it over and you think you get your way, you're gonna resent me, which means you're gonna lose respect for me, which means now you're controlling something, and then you're gonna look at me like I'm another burden on you, based on what? Based on because you think it should be X way. Back the fuck off and get out of this bullshit that you're doing here because it really doesn't matter because ultimately you're disrespecting me. And that is not something that's gonna happen. And in some cases, that's how you have to communicate with a woman, and she'll blow up and everything else. And as a man, you just have to stand firm in it and be like, I'm not attacking you. I mean, you try and talk to her about it, it isn't going to work. But in your mind, you kind of have to think, I'm not attacking you. However, I'm going to stay firm in my commitment to love you, which means I demand respect from you. I make good decisions and everything else. So we're not going to tolerate this misbehavior based on an emotional thing that's happening right now. And I'm just going to do my best to love you through it until you figure out what needs to happen.
And that's like the training. Like most men do not understand what's happening enough to be able
To do what I just did.
to stand like firm in that,
Yeah.
knowing that it must be done in order for the relationship to
To not
stay.
implode, because
Yes.
it will.
Yes. Even though it doesn't like and the training, it's like, this is not how we've been taught this dynamic,
Yeah.
and nobody teaches it,
Well,
which is
the world
why
teaches the opposite.
it teaches the opposite. Happy wife, happy life. Just make her happy. Just
She wears the pants.
she wears the pants. She wears the pants. Like, if your husband says that, even if it's joking, I feel like there's
very
a
mean.
problem there. Even if
It's
it's funny and you're
disrespectful.
like, yeah, I wear the pants. I do. I make all the decisions, blah, blah, blah. Totally fine. But like, at, over time, that energy is going to lead to roommate situation
Yep.
and then maybe eventually divorce. And so,
Or you're already divorced and you're looking back on it going, well, he should have done this. He should have done that. It's like, no, let's stop. Let's stop with the he should, she should game right now. Because as soon as you begin to point the finger at the other person, you're like, even if you get away from that person or you have gotten away from that person, you're going to recreate the same freaking thing like the girl on TikTok, bitched about it, everything else. Let's say they split because everybody's like, you should leave him. If she leaves him, and let's say she finds a like masculine man that's healthy and everything else, and somehow magically she manifests him in some crazy way. And she gets in there and starts doing the same things because she will. I guarantee it. I've seen it over and over again. I've experienced, I've dealt with it. I've made little shifts throughout my life to figure out like that didn't work. Okay, now that didn't work. Okay, now that didn't work to get to where I'm at now. So this is not something I'm going off of theory. This is one I've lived it. Two, I've learned about it. I've educated about it. All those things. She's done the same in her own way. There's things you've done in the past that were like, yeah, don't do that.
mhm.
And now like, oh, when you do this, oh, it's actually more fulfilling. And still to this day, there's times when the brain says, this is how it should be. But after you kind of work through it, it's like, yeah, maybe not. maybe we should stay in the more feminine and masculine ways and we actually find more joy and happiness and it works better. Right? Like that's things that actually works better than this idea that like whatever the world's teaching, which is chaos.
Yes, yes, it works
Yeah.
better. Okay, we're gonna talk, I think, about one more. Um, I think because I don't want to. Which one was it
Oh,
that
there's
I?
one there. There's like
No.
sex as a tool to get what you want. Don't fucking do that.
Oh, okay. So acting like you don't need anyone. So I actually talk about this a lot. What is
It's a good topic.
the I don't need a man energy?
Yeah.
I don't need a man energy. If you have that, that's exactly why you don't have a man.
Exactly. Now, with that being said, you didn't need a man,
I didn't need a man,
but you need your needs met by a man.
but it's like I don't need a man, but I do.
Yeah.
No, I do.
In other words, let me set this. She didn't need my money. She could live the way she wanted. Like there was all these things that she could do on her own, was taking care of it. Wasn't it like me immediately being in her life? The only thing that was really affecting was she was getting some more emotional fulfillment, which is a need that needs to be met. But it wasn't like she needed a man to live life. Okay.
No, because I cultivated a beautiful relationship with myself, with me and myself, and with me and the universe. Like I was in a beautiful relationship without a man.
Mhm.
So I was living life and loving my life,
Mhm.
and I purposely did that. Like I'm creating a life I love with or without a man, like finding gratitude. And I tell women like, we if you don't have a man to give yourself to and to be open with and gracious and graciously receiving and gratitude, if you don't have a man to for you to get into that energy, you create that relationship with God, or you create that relationship with the universe. And you do that first so you know what it's like. So you don't need a man, but you do need a man because you know that a man is going to give you the total fulfillment, the everything. Like I need you. I
Yep.
want you.
Yep.
So, but it's the I don't need a man energy
Mhm.
where it's more aggressive, like I don't need a man. And if you show up with a healthy masculine man with the energy of I don't need you, I make my money, do this, I do this,
I've met women like that. I walked away immediately.
because healthy masculine high value men go where they're needed, which
Yep.
is why Mac is so good at like taking care of his stepdaughter, right? Because when she shows up with gratitude and thankfulness, you are drawn to take care of her,
Mhm.
right? But when we show up with an attitude of I don't need you,
Okay.
there puts up a wall there, and you're like, okay, I'll see you later
Yeah,
then.
well, I guess conversation's over, like have a nice day, whatever.
Right. But
So
if you show up in the energy of I don't need you, all this, and a unhealthy little boy is sitting in front of you, he'll look
that's a
at
game.
you, yeah,
That's a fun game.
and he'll want you.
Yeah, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I like watching me get this girl,"
Yeah,
because you become a challenge, right? And he wants a challenge because he's a dude.
and he wants a challenge, and that creates, and that is, you attract a stud, or no one at all. That's a dud.
Yeah, and you're doing all the things of like the wishy-washy back and forth, the emotional chaos, the this, the testing his
And
loyalty,
there you think
all of it.
all men are the same. They're all
Mm.
dogs. They're all dogs. Well, not all men are dogs, just the men that you're attracting by the way you show up.
So I can only imagine what some of the women said that acted that way, that I would meet them and say hi and then walk away because I already knew, like, no, we're not gonna, I'm not even gonna, like, I can read the energy of a woman that's like that. So I don't need to start a conversation. I don't need to get her number or anything else. I'm just gonna move on. Right. If she shows up different at a later date, maybe I would have had the conversation. But most of the time it was just move on. Next. The other one of the don't need is there's the opposite, which is she really wants a man, she needs a man, but she's taking care of all of her needs by herself. So she's got, and I got the literally like the billboard ad approach from some, hey, like this is who I am. I've got my own house. I make six figures. I do this. I'm like, look at me. I'm good looking. I'm like, it's like they're begging and they're providing everything for me, which means they don't need a man, right? On the healthy side, it's like, well, you're already doing all this stuff. What would you need me for? That
Mhm.
and so it becomes a conflict of interest, which there are certain things, like there are women out there that have that, yes, she owns a house, she has a good job, she does all these things, and she's very much secure with it and everything else, and she won't, it's not an advertising piece for her. She's just gonna have a healthy approach to a man, a feminine approach, and see who he is and figure out who he is, but she's not going to advertise it. So just the pure advertising of who I am as a woman is very controlling and unhealthy. Right.
And it repels.
Yeah, it does. It's just like, okay, I'll have a nice. So I mean that's about it. But I want to touch on a few of these just for entertainment purposes.
Okay, touch on a few for entertainment,
So
and then we gotta get
um
going.
like in today's world, minimize or mocking his masculinity. Right, like even making side comments or whatever. Oh, that's the masculine, don't you think, or whatever. You got to be careful with that because if he starts downplaying his masculine, you're the one that actually takes the hit, not him. Well, it does affect him, but you're gonna wish you wouldn't have. Let's see, displaying jealousy and insecurities. It says too often. Displaying jealousy should never be appropriate. Insecurities is going to happen sometimes because, like you're women, you're trying to do everything you can, like take care, take whatever, provide. And so there's sometimes where life is just a little crazy. But jealousy is an internal problem that you 100% need to look at to say, why would I be jealous? And typically, what it comes down to is you feel like you're not living up to something, and then you have to investigate that, which we help a lot of women investigate that to kind of put it to
Well,
bed or figure out what they need to
yeah, you
do.
can feel like you're not living up to something, which is something you can work on. But I also feel like we might get jealous because we are afraid
Yeah.
and trying to like use control through jealousy to protect what is quote unquote
Well,
ours
get validation.
or get validation. But typically, I feel like anytime I feel any type of jealousy or insecurity comes out, I feel like it's the little girl inside of me who's just afraid.
Yeah.
And so I can either react
Hmm.
or um
Ask for a reminder of how much I love you.
I can ask for a reminder, which I do sometimes, but also I also just talk to myself. Like I tell myself, no, like he does love you. Like you're okay, and I give my inner child the love and certainty that she's seeking.
Yeah, the um refusing to let him lead when he wants, like it shouldn't even it really shouldn't even come to that point because like you should be letting him lead in most everything. And this is like what we talked about that girl with TikTok. Uh, if she would have just let him lead and not taken control of so many things to turn him basically into a codependent of the household, because now she's doing everything and fuck him, and it's like, yeah, you did that. Because if you would have just let him do it or not done it yourself and just been stayed in your feminine, you wouldn't have created that weight on yourself to then do everything and still, like, it's chaotic. Don't do that.
When a woman constantly criticizes a man, and it starts with small things in the beginning, but the more we criticize, it's like it's like ticks, like or like what is it called? Like ticks, 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 like
Chipping away.
chipping away. We're chipping away. And the more we do it, the more they usually withdraw from us, which
It's like chopping down a tree.
in the beginning we think sometimes our criticism is coming from a place of love because we are trying to make quote unquote things better, or well, our way's better, so do it this way, right? But over time it strips away their masculinity, and it also strips away like our trust in their ability to actually do things.
Yeah.
And so the more, if it continues on over a long period, that will lead you again to a roommate situation where she's unhappy, feeling alone, like she's doing everything, and he's over here unhappy, but putting all of his energy into work and other things that fulfill him.
This is one that I don't think people are aware of, and I don't know, but being disrespectful to wait staff or service workers. Um, the you, Someone that's serving you, just don't be disrespectful to them. I mean, if they blatantly do something that's not respectable, then you can inform them or whatever. But even if someone is disrespectful to you directly, um, hopefully, if you've attracted a healthy man, he will handle it. If you handle it, you are undermining his authority because he might sit there and be considering it. And I've had this happen where something very not respectful happened, and I'm contemplating like, well, that was not good. I want, like, thinking in my mind that has to be handled. And my girlfriend at the time lost it, blew up, yelled at him, this and everything else. And then at that point, I'm thinking, now you look dumber than he does. So now I'm like double disrespected inside of this, now wondering what I'm supposed to do and being accused for not being the one that was there when in all reality, I was the healthiest person in the whole situation, just having enough emotional integrity to not lose it and then figure out what to do about it and eventually doing something about it and getting to the bottom of it. But it's a very, very bad situation. So you never want to be disrespectful really to anyone. There's obviously a lot of layers to that, but most of the time, if a woman is disrespectful to someone else or like jealous or says something or talks down about another woman, it's a bad situation. But when you're doing it to a service worker, what do you think the guy is doing most of the time? Most men are actually in service to their families and their women. And so if you're going to talk shit about them energetically in the back somewhere, whether he realizes it or not, he's like, yeah, well, oh, how's she treating me? So if you treat others that are serving you that way, he's going to have like this emotional conflict, something happening inside that he doesn't even recognize because it's a bad situation and there's no reason for you to do that. So then you become a problem inside of that. So don't do that. I mean, we could clearly go on and on and on about these setting unrealistic standards he can't meet. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Pretending to be someone you're not. Yeah, there's a lot there. I'm just gonna leave it alone. The reality is, if you want to find a good, healthy man, there's things that you're gonna want to do, steps that can be taken to get you whole first, so that once the guy shows up, there's none of this, oh no, what do I do or whatever, and you might be sitting in the place where you're going, well, I just want this, or I tried this, or I did this. No, you haven't tried everything. It's pretty obvious when I watch her start coaching someone that's either single or even in a relationship, fix problems and everything. And then when the women start doing what she's telling them, and all of a sudden, like I mean, literally, like the class of men goes from here to here. And then if that doesn't work, then they work on it some more and then they jump again. So it's literally like leapfrog jumps on just even attracting the conversations on with like online dating. We'll go from like total trash to like, oh, there's men like actually like potential men here trying to start conversations with me. What the hell? Just because they started doing the things that you were teaching them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find yourself in that position and you want to know more about it, you need to reach out to her, ask her like, hey, how do I learn more about this? I think you're offering going to open up the women's only call. Like if somebody were to request to say, hey, I want to know more, right? Is that
Maybe
maybe?
that was something.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
sure yet.
so potentially that. So I guess I'll put this out there unofficially. If if you're a woman and you want to know more about it and you're not sure, you're not involved in the membership or anything else, then reach out to Jen. You can find her on social media, send her a DM saying, hey, I would like to know more about how to show up the best to find that healthy masculine man or some version of that. And maybe she will offer to bring you in on the women's only call so you can learn a few things. Sound good?
That sounds good.
Okay. If you're a man that happens to be listening to this, then if you're not experiencing the healthy side of a woman, the feminine side, and really when I say that, if you're not experiencing something something that happens inside of you with the way your woman looks at you, that like fires you up in a way that's very has a lot of weight to it. If you're not getting those feelings, then you're off. You can do things too to get her to show up feminine. It's much different. There is a completely different way of approaching this, and things that I won't even say unless they're in private, because when it's put out there in the world like this, everybody thinks you're like the biggest jackass on the planet. However, when you show up like this with women, they think you're the greatest thing ever. So there's certain things there, and if you want to have that conversation, then get a hold of me. We can have a conversation. I also do a men's only call, and we'll see what the best fit is. Anything else?
No, that was really great.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a weekly membership where people are crushing it. Like some of the people even just in the membership are manifesting way better dates, making more money,
Mhm.
cleaning up their lives, having more fun, happier, just like they're not even the same people in a few
Mhm.
months sometimes. So awesome. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.